afternoon, Toronto, and Koolbreeze Experience Show. My name is Curtis Anthony. It is my honor and pleasure to have you back at Radioregent broadcast facilities on the Koolbreeze Experience Show in Toronto. Hello, Eddie Bullen. How are you?
Excellent. A wonderful day.
Wonderful. Thank you. Where should I start with Eddie? The man is synonymous with great music production in Toronto, local to global. Welcome. How have you been?
Excellent.
Everything's good. How's Quincy? How's Trey Michael?
They're both wonderful boys.
Great.
I can't ask for better.
Good stuff. I mean, this Quincy fella is just
I know.
talented. First they told me he was a keyboard player. I go to see him play, he's playing guitar.
I know.
Next time I go to see him play keyboard, he's playing bass.
But so, they play bass too.
So it took me a while to see him play keyboards, and he's quite something following in your footstep. But the Koolbreeze is here to chronicle the vibe and magnify your brilliance. We're going to recap the year with Eddie Bullen, Tour of China, Caribbean Jazz Collective, Father and Son Canada 150th birthday tour, The Beaches Jazz Festival, Barbados on the Water, Afropan Jazz, Smooth Jazz Boat Ride, and all points in between. But before we get into the meat of things, if you don't know who the Eddie Bullen is, you're going to find out. Pianist, composer, arranger, producer. Eddie Bullen is in every way a standout amongst his generation of multi-talented artists. Eddie's lengthy career has yielded an abundance of awards and recognition for his outstanding talents. His first album, Nocturnal Fare, to his most recent Spice Island. Eddie gives his audience a taste of contemporary jazz flavored with Caribbean rhythms. Since moving to Toronto in 1980 from Grenada, Eddie has worked with Caribbean, Canadian, and American artists like Melba Moore, Anselm Douglas, Byron Lee, Maestro, David Rudder, Liberty Silver, Deborah Cox, and Dee Dee Bridgewater. He has also composed and arranged for TV, radio, and films. His work has been heard on City TV, YTV, Love and Hip Hop, American television series, and Wine TV Australia. To this day, Eddie has produced over 150 albums and is currently working on several new ventures through his record company, Thunderdome Sounds, and publishing company, QDB Music. Eddie's always on the lookout for cutting-edge, innovative artists. Eddie's two sons, Trey Michael, Quincy, are both following in his father's footsteps. Quincy, the eldest son, has recorded 3 CDs under the Thunderdome Sounds label, On Cue, Quintessential Boys, Underage, and Contemplations. Through his production company, Thunderdome Sounds, Eddie is fulfilling his passion for nurturing young talent through the high school co-op program he launched in 1986. Challenges like this keep Eddie growing artistically and personally. The list of awards is just, oh my goodness, this Artistic Director 2008. Gold Standard Production Maestro CD Black Tie Affair. Juno Award with Liberty Silver hit singles Lost Somewhere Inside Your Love, Show Me the Way and to Love. Produced a Grammy nominated track Freddie Will and the Best Spoken Album for Children category 2011. Performer, arranger, producer, Sway's Juno Award nominated Hands Up went to garner gold for Eddie Bullen. Musical director for 5 years. Musical director at EPP Productions. Celebrate the Paralympics in Athens. Artistic director, Uptown Jazz Festival 205, 204. Nominated for Smooth Jazz Keyboardist 205, 206, 207, 208 and 2010. Nominated for Smooth Jazz of the Year, Newer 205 and Kush 206. Nominated for Smooth Jazz Liberty Silver for the Show Me the Way You Love 205. Nominated for National Jazz Award Electric Group of the Year 2005. Nominated for UMAC Best Jazz 205, The Organ Grinders. Arranged the sound for the Canadian Gala of 206 Summer Olympic Games in Atlanta. Musical director for the Heritage Rome 2008, 7, 10, and 11. General Manager and International Artist Relations Art Games 2016. And some of the people he played with: Demo Cates, Kojak, Rob Christian, Waroro, Olita Adams, Alex Walker, Aiden Church, George Banton, Jenny James, Nicholas Branca, Glenn Lewis, Arturo Tappan, Ed Ian Cartel, Ian Wilshire, Kitora, Ralph Robinson, Somerset Entertainment, Shuan Fuez, Rec McIntosh, Percy Sledge, Benny King, Dorothy Moore, The Platters, Solomon Burke, Chuck Jackson, Michael Thompson, Nana McLean, Leroy Sybil, Stoots and the Maytals, Selections, Freddie Will, Jackie Richardson, Jessica Amaro, Kingsley Etienne, Marissa, Lindsay, Glenn Ricketts, Cush, Bruce Carrot. Eddie, where do you find the time for yourself, buddy? You're killing me here.
Oh my God.
Amazing.
I know, I don't get out much.
Okay, I can dig it.
I mean, just working, but
Working
yeah,
away.
you know, it's. I mean, I'm just listening to you read off all those things, and I'm like, jeez, that's a massive body of work.
It is.
Curtis.
It is, and that takes a lot of commitment, patience, dedication, passion, and the whole gamut of superlative thrown in the bucket. I mean, nobody wakes up in the morning, I want to be a musician and do this kind of stuff. It doesn't work that way.
No,
Gotta be selected from the man above and embedded in the soul. It's like it's unreal. But Eddie, tell us, what was your memory of the early Toronto music scene when you first came here?
It was pretty vibrant. I mean,
Okay.
I remember getting here and touring with a gentleman by the name of Robert E. Lee, and that was a sort of rock, band, or actually gentleman, and that was my first, session. And then I got introduced with some Italian guys, and I started playing with them, called Topaz.
Okay.
Then I started doing a lot of reggae. I got thrown into that whole Jamaican reggae scene.
Nice.
And played with, people, Nana, Leroy, Sybil's, little Toots and the Maytals,
Mhm.
did a few gigs with Bunny Wailer, and many other reggae artists, in the city. And, when they come in to do concerts, they'd hire a band. So I got thrown into that. So it was pretty vibrant for me, and I was pretty fortunate to, get a chance to play with all those people and really learn the nuances of the different types of music. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Myself and Ian Wilshire started a company called Eddie and Cartel, where we produced a lot of calypso stuff now. So not only I was playing, for rock stuff, but I was doing R&B, I was doing calypso, I was doing reggae, and I think it all combinated to be who I am, and
Dynamic.
yeah, and I can bring just idioms, bring different styles to different musics, you know what I mean? So I could take something from reggae and then put it into calypso,
Yes.
and vice versa.
The fusing is...
It's funny that you hear what's happening right now with regards to the pop music,
Yes.
and it all sounds like soca. It's all soca. I mean, the way that the snare and the rhythm
Yes.
and the basic pattern is really soca, and that was something that I did. I recorded a song for Byron Lee called Soca Bogle,
Oh, that was a killer track.
and that track is exactly what I was doing then. And to see now that it becomes, just it's exactly what The Weeknd is doing. Is
Yes.
everybody's using that beat
That's
right
a
now.
blueprint.
Yeah. So it's, for me, it's kind of really, it's rewarding to see that you were one of the trailblazers. I'd always start by doing a lot of fusing a lot of things. So with regards to your question as to it pertains to what the music scene was like, I think it was pretty vibrant. And
Yeah.
for a young person and I was one of the only guys who had a recording studio at that time. So all that, especially the black community
Mhm.
reached for me,
Yes.
and I usually tell people it's not by design, it's by default, really. It's just something that I wanted to do. I wasn't planning on doing it, but
Right.
it happened.
And
So
and we're all proud of you, man, and your work and so on.
well, thank you.
You're welcome. And I hear these stories about you back in the day, packing an entire band in a car and going to gigs and not getting paid for years. And look how it has paid off. It's remarkable. Tell us a bit about that.
Yeah, I mean, again, it's a love. I wanted to do this.
Yes.
I arrived in Canada as an immigrant, and my focus was, getting on the road and learning as much as I can possibly learn. And
Yes.
those days, sometimes we'd get in a car and we would drive all over the place and just gig.
Mhm.
I mean, one of the things that I used to do is to get a gig at a restaurant or a club.
Mhm.
I'd go in and tell the club owner, listen, I'll come in and I'll do an hour and you don't have to pay me. And they were like, really? And I'm like, yeah, I'll come in, my band will come and we play for 1 hour for you for free. And if you like it, if you don't like it, you could just ask us to tear it down and we'll leave.
Right.
And if you do, then
We're in business.
yeah, you know what I mean? We can talk.
Yeah.
And what will happen eventually is that we'll come in and play for the hour and the patrons would love it, right? And then, after that hour, we'd have a little bit of drink and then start tearing down and the club owner would be running over and say, no, you guys, you stay. I mean, I'll pay you. And, because what happens is that the patrons fall in love with the music, and that he does not want to lose them now because the band's leaving and they're asking, well, why is the band leaving?
Yeah.
So it was a little trick that I did for many
it's good.
years.
I love it. I love it. And it's all subliminal marketing. Love, when they see that love and that passion, man.
Oh, yeah.
And you're throwing something at them they never had before.
Oh yeah. It always works.
Yes. Tell us, who was instrumental in shaping your career?
There are several people.
You
I
can
mean,
see.
my dad was really one of them. I
Mhm.
mean, I grew up in a music store, so I was soaked in it from the time I was born, and just listening to him talk about his days as a musician, really, it was exciting for me.
Right.
And Kingsley was one of the other gentlemen,
Etienne.
Etienne, because he lived in Canada, and my dad had a Hammond B3
Ooh.
with 3 Leslies, and Kingsley would die. I mean, he would land and then he'd make a beeline for my dad's store because he knows my dad would shut the store down and open it up and have drinks and it'll be a jam session. So as a kid, I'm watching Kingsley and just seeing how, people react to, his performance, and I loved it.
Right.
And there's several other people who were instrumental. A guy called Jeffrey Japal, who plays now with the Tradewinds.
Okay.
He was very instrumental with my, especially in Grenada. And moving to Canada, Kingsley again was instrumental in helping me.
Mhm. Okay.
Jeffrey, again, he lived in Canada at the time now, so he was very instrumental. There's a guy called Ben Haywood, who's a guitar player. He played on a couple of the tracks that you played, and he was a professor at York University.
Yeah.
And we became very good friends, and he was instrumental. Also, we wrote several songs together. We got, distinction for Billboard and stuff like that. This guy called Winston Clark too was who was very helpful. With regards to, he was a promoter, and he would always entrust most of the acts that he's bringing in. For example, Dorothy Moore, the Platters, Benny King.
Heavy hitters.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm the musical director,
Right.
and I would play for all those people who would come in. So I must say he was one of the guys who was very instrumental in guiding me as well too. Liberty Silver was another one who we wrote a lot of songs together, and I think because of her, she was sort of the face of a lot of the productions that I was able to do, and
Okay.
I think that really helped.
Right. Eddie, I must ask you, when you hear your music being played on the radio, what goes through your mind?
That some songs I play live and some songs I don't.
Yeah.
And sometimes I hear songs like you were playing a couple this morning, and I'm like, I should really start playing that song again. That's sometimes the first thing that goes through my mind. But it's rewarding, actually. You know what I mean? To have, to do, to have a, it's a property. To have a piece of intellectual property that people love and brings joy to them. Yeah. I give you a story. I had a friend of mine that we grew up in Grenada together as kids, and my first album, Nocturnal Affair, usually during the lunch period, they would play that in Grenada.
Right.
They'd play pretty much the whole record during the lunch period because people would go home for lunch, and that from 12 to 1 is always a chill time.
Yes.
And they pretty much play that whole album.
Oh,
and
okay.
he listened to that album for years and had no idea it was me because they never mentioned it. They just played the record.
Wow.
So he came to Canada, and I gave him the CD. And he played it, and he was freaking out because he says, for years, he's trying to figure out who this person is. And I gave him the CD, and he's like, I could not believe I was enjoying this for that many years and not knowing it was you. And for me, that was somebody who knew me really well.
Yeah, but didn't know.
And didn't know and really loved the music. So that rings through a lot for me. You know,
Yeah,
that
for sure.
really,
Big time.
yeah, it really resonated with me, man.
Yeah. Eddie, what was your big break turning point that accelerated your growth?
I think being in Toronto, I mean, I was always eager to learn new things. And just being in Toronto, being around the different categories and genres of music, it really helped me. For example, I mean, calypso and soca we grew up with, so it's in our DNA.
Yes.
You know, but for example, you know, country music and reggae music and zouk music and you know, some African music and Latin music. You know, some of those things, yeah, we can play, but it's never like the authentic, you know, genre. So playing with all these musicians, I remember actually playing with Leroy Sibbles, and I would be doing the bubble, which is the, you know, like the thing on the organ.
Yeah.
And Leroy would stop the band and he'd turn around, yeah, you're not playing it right now. You gotta get it right. And I mean, I was like, I think I'm playing it right. And they would, I remember him just stopping the band, and you know, he'll come over and tell me, you know, you gotta get, you know, the bubble, you have to feel it in your soul, in your bones. And eventually, you know, over time, you know, I'm really searching for this thing over time. You know, I remember one night I playing the bamboo with him, and I figured it out. You know, it's a math equation.
Yes.
And I figured it out. You know, and so it is with different types of music.
Yes.
You have to figure out really what makes it tick, and you have to look at the dances primarily. You look at how the dances are and where the ghost notes are and the you know, the emphasis where they, so sometimes that is for me a big thing in with regards to learning different genres.
Eddie, when you had your first hit as a producer and your first hit on your CD, what was that feeling like? Take us there.
I was elated, man.
Yeah.
I was just, well, there are two components to that question. The first hit, I remember it was the Liberty Silver song, Lost Somewhere Inside Your Love. That, you know, it was amazing just hearing that played on the radio. And, you know, I remember just going up and telling people, you know, that's me, man, that's me. Because nobody really cares usually who's the producer and who's the arranger and sing, you know what I mean? It's Liberty, and that's who you know, and that's who. So for me, I'm on a soapbox saying, listen, I did the music for that song, man.
Yes.
So that was cool, you know, and you know, the people who were in the industry knew that I did it.
Right.
And
they're happy for you.
And was really happy for me. People like David Bender. So I started getting more work because of that. Yeah. You know, and with regards to my album, I think for me is when it started getting played on the stations in the US. You know, when I started hearing it on Muzak and like, you know, it's like you go into an elevator and you hear music, and then I hear my song, or somebody calls me from Brazil and said, listen, you know, I just heard your song in Brazil, or somebody calls from Australia and said, listen, man, I just heard your song on a plane ride going over to Australia.
Right.
So those are really rewarding moments that stays with me.
All right. Why did you choose the piano as your main instrument?
I think the piano chose me, my friend.
All right.
I grew up in a store with lots of musical instruments, and pianos were abundant, my friend.
Okay.
My dad had so many pianos, and I'd repair pianos. I could not go out and play soccer with my friends. I'd see Bessie, Trevor Redhead.
Yes.
Those guys would be playing soccer. I'd be trying to play soccer, and I couldn't go. If I go, lashes when I get back. So as a young man growing up, I had to. Everybody was specializing in different things, especially sports.
True.
And back in the day, Bruce Lee was king, so karate, you had to go for karate classes. Now I can go. I was fixing pianos, my friend.
Wow.
So I think the piano chose me. And just a little story. My dad sold the school that I was going to an organ. I remember at a lunch period just getting up and playing that organ, and I got so much respect. All the dudes were crowding around, and I was like, okay, now I can get some respect. I don't have to be karate. I don't have to do cricket. I don't have to play soccer. I don't have to be wrestling, boxing, none of those stuff. I'll just play.
Nice.
And then the girls started coming, and oh man, I was playing my butt off.
Tell us a bit about the day-to-day operations at Thunderdome Studios in a nutshell.
Thunderdome usually starts at about 11 o'clock in the morning.
All right.
I'd do some clerical stuff before, and then at about 11 o'clock, my client would come, and we sort of know what we're doing. Either I'm doing a single, or I'm doing an album. Okay. And most times it's an album. We do, pretty much full albums. And it'll start from 11 till about 3. I'll take a break, and then I'll do another session from about 4:30 to about 8, 9.
Okay.
And sometimes I'll do another session after that, But as of late, I think, with that body of over 150 albums, I think I've done my...
You fit your lion's share.
Yeah, man.
Of mixing, producing, arranging, composing, touring, and...
Yeah, man. When I look at it, I was like, okay, you know what? I'm good. I'm good. And I mean, it's actually more than that now.
Yeah.
But
keep up the good work, Eddie. Piano players: Art Tatum, Oscar Peterson, Nat King Cole, Thelonious Monk, Phineas Newborn Jr., Bud Powell, blues, Meade Lux Lewis, and I'll even throw in Bill Evans. On the electric side, Herbie Hancock, Keith Jarrett, George Duke, Bob James, Chick Corea, Joe Sample, Jeff Lorber, Joe Zawinul. Who was it in the acoustic and the electric side that did it for you?
Oscar Peterson. Oscar Peterson was a guy, he just rocked me. I remember walking one day, and one of my dad's friends, Piper Patterson, man, he had that record playing, and I was coming to my dad's store. We were going to my dad's store for lunch, man, and I heard that record. We Take Requests.
Yo,
Jesus! I stood there behind that wall, and
transfixed.
I just listened to that record. I was like, and he saw me, and he goes, "You like the record?" I'm like, "Oh, I love that record." He goes, "Pass back later. I'll make a cassette for you." And he made I played that damn cassette just constantly. That record.
Stretch the tape.
Yeah, man. That was, for me, that rocked my world so that was the nucleus. And then
electronic.
Actually, I moved on to a couple of other people in terms of acoustic.
All right.
I actually like
Bud Powell.
I like Bud Powell, but Keith Jarrett.
Oh man!
On acoustic for me
that
was
guy's deadly.
Yes, wow. He was so lyrical. Right. So those two guys, and with a Latin twist, a guy called Gonzalo Rubalcaba.
Cuba.
Yeah. So those two guys are
yes.
And Herbie Hancock as well too.
Yes, on the acoustics.
Yeah.
Who did it for you, electronic?
Electronic for me, it was Chick Corea. and Herbie Hancock.
Yes.
You know, those two, and Jeff Lorber.
Oh,
And, you know, he had Jeff Lorber Fusion.
Love, yes.
Yeah.
Kenny G came out of there.
Right. Actually, I did a gig with them in Niagara Falls.
Love
Kenny
that.
G and Jeff Lorber. They had a smooth jazz thing. And,
Yes, he's amazing, man. I love his
man.
stuff.
Oh yeah.
All right. Eddie, there was a time in music when a keyboardist was surrounded by a multitude of keyboards.
Yeah.
Fender Rhodes, Yamaha DX7,
Mm-hmm.
Korg synthesizer, the Synclavier, Mini Moog, Roland D50, Oberheim OBX, Hammond B3 organ, acoustic piano, the ARP synthesizer, the EMU emulator, Fairlight CMI, sequential circuits, the Wurlitzer. Such an amazing array of sounds. You don't see much of that today. Would you agree? Would you agree with that assessment?
Yeah. I mean, I was part of that as well too. I have I have photographs with lots of keyboards. Some of them were unaffordable for me. For example, the Fairlight, that was, you know, the cost of that was $250,000. Definitely out of my league, my friend.
Yes,
you know, and the Synclavier was run not too far behind.
Love that instrument.
Yeah, that was another $200,000.
Oh my God! But there is something about the Fender Rhodes that, like, it's like a instrument from the heavens, like the harp.
Oh yeah.
Oh
yeah,
my God!
Yeah, the Rhodes and the Wurlitzer definitely was transformative. I think from the 1974 around then, and there are a couple of people who were instrumental in the trajectory of that, which is like Stevie Wonder.
Yes.
That just he, you know, Billy Joel. A song that comes to mind is "I Love You Just the Way You Are." Just the opening of that with the Fender Rhodes with a chorusing on it.
Beautiful.
It was just it shaped the way all through almost right through to 2000.
Yeah, and Maze had a slow song. Boom boom, boom boom, boom boom.
Oh yeah, everybody with the Rhodes. And you know what, the Rhodes sort of, one of the things that, like for example, the DX7 took the place of the Rhodes in the 90s. Why? Because the Rhodes was heavy.
Yes.
Right?
To carry around.
You know, so there are different things, like the Rhodes took the place of the organ, the Hammond B3.
Yes.
And then here comes the DX7, takes the place of the Rhodes. So it's getting smaller and smaller. It's just, it's like, you know, cell phones now. You know, it gets smaller and smaller.
More dynamic.
Yeah, and then makes a resurgent back. So now the Rhodes is back again.
Right, love the sounds of those keyboards. When I first heard Herbie Hancock on those electronic Chameleon with the Synclavier, Stevie Wonder with those early I Wish and
the Mini Moog was and that's what started it. The Moog was
killer. Bernie Worrell, Parliament Funkadelic, and the guy from Earth, Wind and Fire, Larry Dunn.
Yeah.
Incredible.
Yeah.
Eddie, knowing your equipment and knowing your room, how important is that?
That's very important. You know, like usually, you know, if somebody builds a studio and they get all their equipment all at once, that is a challenge, trying to figure out the nuances between different instruments and what you want to use and what you like and what you don't like.
Right.
And with regards to knowing your room, your room could be lying to you.
Okay.
Oh yeah, room lies a lot.
Right.
So you have to make sure that your room is true, and how you know that is when you take it out of your room and you play it somewhere else. For example, you play it in your car, or you play it, you know, at a friend's house, and then you find, you know, things are so whacked because, and that means your room's lying to you.
Okay, good to know. Spice Island CD. Excuse me for 1 minute.
Yes.
The Spice Island CD, man, that is such a great production you put together, my man. It came out 2 years ago, and I heard it, got into the radio and got the Spice Island, baby. I love that CD, man. It is.
You know, I got lots of compliments on that CD.
What was so special about that CD you produced 2 years ago? What was the alchemy that created the magic?
Well, I think the brainchild behind that is just remembering my days in the Caribbean.
Yes.
You know, in Grenada, and you know, there was some times where it was trying times, and all the songs are reminiscent of songs that I used to listen to back in the day.
Okay.
And the one of the tracks that really did it for me was well, I love all the tracks, but Mardi Gras. And Mardi Gras peaked at number 5 on Billboard Contemporary Jazz Charts, which was, again, that's another wonderful moment when you can get on Billboard and you climb so far
time.
up, you know.
Yes.
And all the songs are either events or places that bring back fond memories for me. And Mardi Gras was one of them. And I lived in the St. Paul's Junction, and Mardi Gras was, a junction right there. So
Okay.
lots of friends there.
Yes. Tell me about the chemistry with working with David Rudder.
That was very cool. David, I mean, he's a true professional. He came in, he learned the song, and, he laid it down in no time. And we worked on, that was myself and Ian Wilshire, we worked on Trinity to the Bone.
Yes.
Together with him. And that was I mean, I've always wanted to work with David, from the time he started his career. And I think he's such a wordsmith. So with regard just getting him into the studio to doing that was wonderful. And I was able to work on another song on his I think follow-up album after that, which was wonderful.
Amazing human being, man. Which big collaborations for you was epic?
But the Liberty, that was very cool for me. Working on the theme song for the gala, the Olympic gala, that was another one with Sylvia Sweeney. Sylvia Sweeney, not quite sure if you know, but she is Oscar Peterson's niece, and her mother, Daisy Sweeney, who just passed away about a month ago, was the one who taught Oscar Peterson to play.
Unbelievable.
You know what I mean? So
great stories.
Yeah, and that was an epic moment for me.
Okay.
Opening for, actually playing for Desmond Tutu, that was one. Opening for Harry Belafonte, that was another one.
Right.
Having a meeting, sitting down with Harry Belafonte and chatting with him for about 3 hours, that was amazing. You know what I mean? Hanging out with Stevie Wonder, those you know what I mean?
Great moments, man, to cherish.
Yeah.
Eddie, your band consists of Andrew Stewart on bass, Otis Williams on drum, Rob Christian, a very dynamic song and energy every time I see them. And what amazing, you guys sound so different every time I see you in different segments, like the Barbados on the water and the beaches and this like that. And how do you consistently find these young talent and nurture them and put them into the world, man?
Yeah, it's just I think it's a bit of a magnet. I think we all sort of find each other. Andrew Stewart was a bass player. And I go through for example, at one time it was Rich Brown on bass. We did, many tours together. Amazing. And then Lionel Lewis, used to play with me.
Yes.
So, and Alex Walker, who's played on my CDs, amazing musicians. It just, people know what I like, and they'll hear a musician, and I'll give you a story. Alex Walker. It was Jay Douglas. Okay. Jay Douglas came to me and he says, I did a gig on the weekend and this guy who sat in, and I think he is the guy for you, Eddie. And I'm like, okay, Jay, I appreciate the gesture, but I'd like to find my own people, right?
Yeah.
And he goes, no, you gotta listen to this guy. So I'm like, I reluctantly said yes, and then Alex came into the studio and he played 3 notes, and I'm like, this is my guy, man. And there was another gentleman after Alex left me. There was another guy called Isaac Ajiman.
Yes, I heard of that guy. Is he African?
Yeah, his mom he's African and Guyanese.
Did he do a song called I Don't Care?
Yeah, man.
That's killer.
Isaac is a crazy saxophone player. Wow. So then Isaac played with me for a little bit, and then he left, and then I played with I had a guitar player, Elmer Ferreira.
Oh,
You know, so he
Cool
played
Jack.
with me for a little while. And then, you know, now Rob, who's been with me since he's like 14.
Rob
you
is
know,
something, man.
Yeah, so now he's
Wonder
become-
Child, Wonder Boy.
Yeah, he'd been sitting in the wings watching all these other guys play, and you know, now
And he's really shining
yeah.
nicely. Eddie, what is your prognosis for the future of smooth jazz?
I think it's here.
It's
And
here.
it's here to stay. So, you know, there's some highs and lows with everything else. You know, every type of music that becomes highs and lows.
Mm-hmm.
And with everything else, it's, you know, it's like style and fashion. Sometimes you wouldn't be caught dead in a bell bottom right now, right?
True.
So,
Back in the day.
Back in the day, but now it's you know, it could be fashionable again, and I think that's really what it is. It's what you grew up with. I mean, smooth jazz for me was the backdrop to my life. I love it. You
Right.
know what I mean? And fusion. So
Yes.
it was fusion, and then fusion evolved over time to smooth jazz. You know, what we call smooth jazz, and it's just a title that kind of gives it a little bit of a you know, easier palette for the general public.
Right.
But and I think it's going back to contemporary jazz right now. People start, you know.
Yeah, all the
But-
branding and indexing.
Yeah, it's just a branding. And it really, the smooth jazz was just coined by a radio station in Los Angeles.
Yeah. I knew it as jazz funk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we call it contemporary jazz,
Yes, yes.
right?
Yeah.
So that's really what it was. But it's just a radio station
Mhm.
in Los Angeles that says, listen,
This
this
is
is
it.
smooth jazz. You know what I mean? And but it helped popularize it, and I love it, man. Several people that I do love.
Eddie Bullen, for those of you just tuning in, is live at radioregent.com, facilities with the Koolbreeze experience. Eddie, performing, composing, songwriting, film work, event promotion, with all that you do so well, what aspect of all of this you find to be most fulfilling?
All of it.
All.
All of it. I love the promotion. I mean, and they all had threads. You know, it's the entertainment industry, and they all connect to each other. And you know, they weren't all started at the same time. One thing leads to the next thing. I mean, I was a musician. Then I got a recording studio. So the trajectory of that, it kind of leads towards that. And then I decided to have a record company, and then I decided to, you know, perform as Eddie Bullen, you know, instead of being a background musician.
Okay.
And then I decided, you know, I'd like to do my own shows, you know, and so I started doing concert promotion. My first concert promotion was 1999, never forget it.
Okay. Your time on the Canadian music scene, do you feel like a trailblazer?
I don't know, that's for somebody else to say, not me. I mean, I just contributed,
Yes.
for me, but with regards to being a trailblazer, I don't know, you know,
Right.
I'll leave that.
Was there something that you were amazed about yourself, that your musical experience showed you on another level of Eddie Bullen that you didn't know, and you said,
Yeah, that happens because, and the way, for me, is the way when somebody comes up to me and I'll give you an instance where I remember years ago when the CRTC had adjudications for a radio station, and at the time it was Flow, and there were several other radio stations
Right.
going up for it, and they didn't get it at that time, but I think CBC got it.
all right.
But at that time, I was supporting a gentleman by the name of Robert J. Wood, and they called me up, you know, to give my, you know, spiel on why we need a black radio station.
All right.
And I never forget this, Breeze.
Mm-hmm.
One of the adjudicators pulled out some document and said to me, I have been following your career. And I'm like, what?
Yeah.
He says, you did this, you did that, and he was calling out all the stuff and what he liked about it. I didn't even have to say a word. This guy did the whole presentation for me. So that for me was a moment when I realized, wow, people are really paying attention, and people in places that I wouldn't expect. I would not expect an adjudicator from the CRTC to be paying attention to an immigrant.
It happens.
You know?
It happens. Eddie, tell us about the art of mixing and mastering. Is there a formula to that?
Yeah, that is a definite art. And what happens, it takes a really long time to be a good mixing engineer.
All right.
And I remember mixing, records and hating it. And I'm remixing over. And it's a month later and I'm still mixing because I'm just not feeling it. And then I just have to call somebody and say, listen, man, you got to help me with this. And one of the guys actually, who I learned a lot from, is a gentleman by the name of Peter Lee. He was a mixing engineer, and he pretty much taught almost everybody who was engineering in the city. If he didn't teach them, is that somebody that he taught that taught them.
Right.
So
chain.
Yeah, it was a training action, and myself and Peter are good friends. I mean, I spoke to him this morning just before I came down.
Yeah.
But he taught me a lot with regards to mixing and what I have to listen for, and just watching him. And there's another guy by the name of John Bailey, those two guys that I worked with extensively, and they helped me. With regards to mastering, that is another discipline that I'm not good at. So I always send, if I'm mastering one song, yes, I could do that. But if I'm mastering an album, I hate it.
Okay.
So I send it out to get mastering. There's guys who, that's what they do. And that's what I do. I'm mixing, I can deal with. I conquered that.
Yeah, that's an illuminating explanation. Eddie, tell us about your brief stint with the Crack of Dawn band.
Oh, yeah. Well, Glenn Ricketts and myself were really good friends. I've done a record for him. And I've kind of, Glenn, when I came to Canada, was always kind to me. He would always make sure. I remember walking with my Poly 6 in one hand and sometimes my DX7 in the other hand, in flight cases, taking the subway from rehearsal. And Glenn would always make somebody who had a car ask them, or actually he'd make them drop me home. He'd go, you can't let the man run car. I gotta drop him home. So,
nice.
So he was really cool to me. So I was working with him, and then he said, listen, we had to have this Crack of Dawn gig, and he'd like me to do it. So he suggested that to the rest of the guys. And I know all the guys really well, and they all agreed that I would be part of it. So
Crack of Dawn.
Yeah, and they were always kind of mentors to me, as as arriving in Canada at the time. They were kind of disbanding, but they all were very well respected.
Yes.
So I learned a lot from them with regards to the business and just the music business, and played with several of them in different configurations.
Right. And people always coin them the phrase the Canadian Earth, Wind and Fire.
Yeah.
And they're so dynamic, they were so great.
Great.
Eddie, how important is the feel of music and being in the moment?
I think that's very important. I mean, frankly, you got to feel the music. You know what I mean? Your audience can tell when you're not feeling it. Don't matter how good you are, but your audience will tell. You just either regurgitating something or just there. So it is very important for me.
Right. How did you meet and come to work with Dee Bridgewater?
That was through the Olympics again. I was in China where we were doing shows for, part of the Olympics, and she was one of the entertainers. And I mean, myself and Dee Dee hit it off. Dee Dee is a riot, man. We rocked. I mean, I met up and I was being very cordial and polite, and I Mrs. Bridgewater, this lady, but she goes, honey, come here, baby. Yeah, and she starts scratching my head and pinching me, and I'm like, wow, it was like, so we started hanging, and then, I, became part of the band who played with her on that tour. You know, myself and a gentleman by the name of Levan Ichkanyan, and two other gentlemen from Montreal.
Okay.
You know, so we all.
Amazing collaboration.
Yeah.
Eddie, can music have a positive impact on society?
Yeah, definitely. I think it does. I remember Harry Belafonte saying that music is the world's radical song, right?
I like that.
Especially reggae music
Yes.
is the world's radical song. And you notice that when you travel. For example, I was in Brazil, and or I mean anywhere in the world, and you want to protest something.
Yes.
You put on some reggae music, and you
Protest
know,
music.
you know what I mean. It's
gonna give you-
saying stand up for your rights. You know what I
Yes.
mean.
Yes.
And for example, when I was in Brazil, a lot of people hold on to reggae music as their savior and their.
Thanks to Bob Marley.
Yeah, there's actually an organization called Afro Reggae. And Afro Reggae is the massive organization that helps rehabilitate gang members from the favelas.
Right.
And they, I mean, this. I went into their building. It's a massive, like 5-story. And they have boardrooms, offices, people working there, and the amount of work that they've done. I think they've rehabilitated over 5,000 gang members from the favelas.
That is great.
And those gang members work with that organization, and it's called Afro Reggae. So that's when you ask me how music can impact, society.
That's a good example.
Yeah.
Eddie, jazz music has sophistication, improvisation, and complexity.
Mm-hmm.
What does smooth jazz have that's different?
I think they have very similar
Elements?
elements. Yes, I think they have very similar elements. I think smooth jazz, and you can see that in the audiences. They are happy. It brings back. It sort of catapults jazz back to the prior years. For example, the years of Louis Armstrong, where people would dance, or the years of Duke Ellington. Sometimes people would be dancing to Duke's music, and feel happy about it.
Yeah.
And I think smooth jazz, contemporary jazz, that it kind of does that. When you go to one of those concerts, people are jamming and they're dancing and they're having a really good time. So I think it emulates that a bit. It always goes around in a circle.
Yes.
And I think that's what happens. If you go to you go to Barbados, or they have the smooth jazz cruises.
Right.
Go to that, people are up in the audience and they're jamming and they're dancing because it's funky, and it has some kind of
energy
to it. Yeah. And what happens is some of the for example, you'd go to one of those shows, and who'd be singing? Jeffrey Osborne, right? So and Brenda Russell and all those guys, that's where you would find them now in the smooth jazz concerts.
Yes. As you look at the evolution of smooth jazz, Caribbean jazz, the technology in this digital age, has smooth jazz been affected particularly on the commercial side? What's your view?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, like everything else, it's it can be a portal to introducing musicians, which is a good thing. You know what I mean? Like sometimes musicians are not as they don't have the dexterity as a well-rounded jazz musician. But it's a portal so that they can get into that arena, because jazz has become so technical and it's almost viewed as a thing for the upper class.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
So I think smooth jazz can do that, and there's certain smooth jazz guys. For example, a guy that comes to mind is Eric Marienthal.
Yeah.
Eric Marienthal plays
Deadly.
smooth jazz, but he's a crazy straight-ahead player. Like you hear him play with Chicoria, and
Unbelievable.
he's killing. And a lot of those guys
Mhm.
can do it. For most smooth jazz musicians, they go both sides. They can do
Yes.
it. You know what I mean? There are a couple of albums that Chicoria did. That's kind of contemporary jazz.
Yes.
You know, it's funky like hell.
Yeah. Eddie, when you look at all the stuff you have done, all the contacts you have made, all the appearances and the albums you have recorded and the friends you have made in the business, who's in the Hall of Fame in terms of great smooth jazz people in Canada? Give me some names.
I think Demo Cates is one of the first that comes to mind. There's a guy actually who used to live here. Now he doesn't live here anymore. Is a guy called Maurice Gordon.
Okay.
Right? Maurice is from Jamaica,
All right.
but he's an amazing, contemporary. And he mixes reggae with his thing too. Him and George Benson are buddies. You know, when
Okay.
George gives him guitars. Anyway, that's another guy. The 480 East is another. Right,
Rob and Tony.
Yeah, those guys.
Deadly.
I think they made a mark
Yes.
in terms of, that whole smooth jazz. Warren Hill is another guy.
Canadian?
Yeah,
I heard of him. I didn't know he was Canadian.
Oh yeah, Warren is Canadian.
Okay.
And he's from North York.
Wow.
Right, and
Okay.
again, he's made a mark for himself.
Mhm.
Warren is like no joke.
Right.
And actually, Kenny G's parents is Canadian,
Really?
and Dave Cause have some Canadian in him too. I think
Okay.
one of his parents is Canadian.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. So when you if you live the hood on a lot of these things, sometimes a lot of these people have some kind of Canadian roots. So I think with regards to that whole smooth jazz, I mean, on a footnote, this which is not in relation to the question that you asked me, but there's a friend of mine. His name is Mark Ruffin, and Mark Ruffin is the guy who started this whole smooth jazz or contemporary jazz
Right.
movement, and he's from Chicago, and he had a radio show, and Ramsey Lewis is the one who took over his radio show because he started working with Oprah.
Okay.
And now, Mark is the head of XM Jazz.
Nice.
So, you know what I mean?
Wow.
So just to give you a bit of backstory
Yes,
on
I like that.
smooth jazz.
I like that. Eddie, is there something musically you always want to do but have not done?
Good question.
Thank you.
Maybe sing.
Why not do that?
I don't know. I only know the words to one song. And it's the most difficult, one of the most difficult jazz songs.
Eddie, we saw you at Father and Son piano player at Aga Khan Theatre. That was amazing. Put on a nice suit, go out there and taking a nice evening in jazz. I love that. I saw you with Jazz Collective a couple of years ago. I have to see that band again because I have some friends who want to see them. Been on the jazz at the Caravana weekend, smooth jazz, and Barbados on the Water,
Right.
the Beaches Jazz Festival, all various dynamic. But the Eddie Bullen boat ride was the killer. There was absolute killer, and I tell you, I came off that boat ride with that energy in my soul. It took me 3 days to decompress because the energy and the performance was just extraordinary. And that energy, man, and I told Eddie, I said, Eddie, next year, God's willing, we're gonna pump that thing to the max. And I guarantee you in a couple of years, that boat is gonna be sold out.
Yeah.
People will be swinging cash. Sorry, we filled the capacity because it was amazing energy. Michael Dunstan, Liberty Silver, Keisha went,
Yeah.
and it's unbelievable. And I was telling Johnny Boy Fraser about this. I said, we need to see you on that boat next year because things are gonna really blow up.
Oh yeah. Yeah, we're gonna have him on.
I think I saw you. The Father and Son was a different level of musicmanship and artistry.
Yeah.
But that boat ride, to me, was paramount
Yeah.
in terms of performance and things like that. And just the energy, the food, the people was incredible, man. And thanks for allowing me to videotape those and put them up there, and so people could see you, like, and the radio station, and people will come out and see what they're missing, because seeing a band live is living.
Yeah. Well, it's wonderful that you were able to archive a lot of the performances, and like that again, it's a passion. It's like Eddie Bullen's gratitude party.
Yes.
And I'm just thankful for the community supporting me all these years, and for me, it's about. I mean, I've been doing this with this another gentleman for years, and now it's kind of just I'm doing it, but it's about 11 years that we've been doing this. Okay. Missed a couple of years, but
all right.
For me, it's just so rewarding to see people enjoy themselves and to see
have a good time.
Yeah, the smiles on their faces and partying, and their belly is full. And
Eddie, I woke up the next day and my phone ringing and text, when is the video going up with Eddie Bullen's boat ride? I said, you realize, and they know this, it takes time for me to prep this thing and put it out properly together, and I said, give me 48 hours. And I'm working around the clock because I want this thing to look good. So you look good, the radio station look good, Koolbreeze look good.
Well, I love it. I like that. I mean, you know what? If you guys listening, keep the pressure on Breeze, because
thank you.
It makes me happy. That, like, every year it gets better and better, and more people come out, and they have a good time. And the thing is, I just advertise me. It's just my thing, and then you just come and you'll be pleasantly surprised with the talent that I have on board.
And what amazes me too, what enlightens me, Eddie, people like who I don't even know, they walk up to me in sessions and so on, you the Koolbreeze? And they said, you have no idea the magnitude of what you have created at Radioregent. And I'm looking at, really, what have I done to myself?
Yeah.
And I go home and I reflect, because I'm on the production line doing stuff, so you don't have that time to say, well, but when my phone rings from Bassman Ian, Charlo, Diva D, the Emperor Fuzzy, and all of these people texting me, Mike Cedric says nobody rolls more tape for independent artists like the Koolbreeze. Nobody. And I made a soundbite, because I have certain artists, Coin, they have their own stamp on their soundbite, so I never let anybody do cross-reference. Yes. So the energy, you guys drive me to do better. Guys like Jerome Tucker, Orrin Isaacs, Eddie Bullen, David Rudder, Louis Saldina, and all the Keisha Wint, and all the people who came down, every single one of them inspired me, man, to do this. And I'm just pushing. Koolbreeze, I love to push the envelope.
We're thankful.
Yes, man, and because when I come in the studio on a Saturday morning, I get charged up Friday night, putting the music together, getting my video, scripting things out, compressing and research and transcripting and all this kind of stuff. So when I come in, I come in like a vicious Tasmanian devil ready to play music, so get out of my way.
Well, I feel you, man. and that's how it should be. It should always be that way. You know, if you're going to do anything, you do the best that you could do at that given time.
Yes, and Eddie, I don't look out for Eddie money. It's the love and the passion and the dedication and the commitment, and trying to strengthen our community, because we're no good. We're less fortunate in terms of not getting help.
Yeah.
So when everybody pitches in and strengthen up the brand, it's just incredible. Yeah. But I forget to ask you this question: how hard is it playing an instrument and singing at the same time?
Well, I think it's a discipline that you learn from the inception of the instrument.
Yes.
I think, like, for me, I'm always humming when I'm playing an instrument.
Okay.
So I don't think. I think it is challenging, but like anything else, you have to work on it.
Yes. Eddie, I've never asked anybody this question, and if you don't feel comfortable, we'll move to the next one. The loss of a loved one. How difficult is that to overcome and get back on track?
It's challenging, especially when I can answer this question. It's challenging, you know. There's a void, especially, you know, we were married for myself and my wife was married for 25 years, and you know, just losing that part of you really creates a void.
Yes.
I mean, I am thankful that she left me with 2 wonderful sons.
Yes.
So I lean to them for support more than anything else.
Okay.
And for me, that has helped me to move on. And you know, and there are days when you feel, the void.
Yes.
You know, but my sons are always there. They're always close by. So
good.
And
give you that strength.
Yeah, give you the strength. You know, because I mean, people have lost people in life already, and they've moved on, but you always feel that void.
Great, thank you. You played standard jazz before, right?
Oh yeah.
Where you tamed those classics.
Yeah.
I like to throw this question at the jazz people. Eddie Bullen, what is the Lydian chromatic concept of tonal organization in jazz?
I have no freaking idea what you're talking about.
It is a George Russell concept of something about a scale in music. I even asked Bernie, he said, come on, this is simpler terms like that. I know what it is, but I thought I'd throw that out there because it's so funny, and I like the way it sounds, man. Like the way this guy
Well, read it again. Let's see if I can do them.
What is the Lydian chromatic concept of tonal organization?
Lydian chromatic concept of tonal organization.
Don't bust your brains.
I'm done.
I love it. I love it. Eddie, I gotta ask you this one before we conclude. Music recording today, the SSL board versus ProLogic Max. What's your take? What's your sound? What's your preference?
Well, I'm going to tell you, a lot of those concepts now are almost dinosaurs.
Oh, really?
Unless you're doing an orchestra.
Okay.
You know, or a big band or something like that.
Yeah.
I remember recording an album in New York.
Yes.
This guy had a 62 input SSL board, which is twice the length of this room.
Really?
Yeah.
3 men controlling this thing.
Yeah, it's just just this massive thing.
Yes.
And he said to me, see these 2 channels down here? This is all I've used for the last 5 years.
Wow.
2 channels.
2 channel on that big thing.
Yeah, because he said that what happens is everybody, because of the computer, and they have modeling, they model the SSL board, and they model all the different pieces of equipment that you would use, outboard equipment that you would use necessarily. So they model that, and you could buy the plugins. So you buy the plugins and you mix everything in your computer.
Great.
So all you need is 2 channels coming out. It's stereo, right? So you just need 2. So a lot of the guys, they do mix everything, and they'll go into the studio just for referencing sometimes, on just to get the perspective of the engineer. So yes, they still do it, but sometimes, I mean, you know, we call it mixing out of the box.
Right. Eddie, I know we got to conclude because I've got Mega Naga coming next.
Yeah.
The Ethiopian diaspora. It's been an honor.
Yes.
And a pleasure having you at Radio Regent. I had 100 questions lined up for you, but I'll take care of you next year.
Oh my God!
I saw the fear in your eyes.
Oh no, I didn't even know I'm fearful.
But I mean, I got to tell you, Eddie, it's always been honor and pleasure. You bring your magic, your energy, and your glory and grace and class to Radio Regent, and you're such an iconic figure in the community. And again, thank you so much, man. We love you down here, bro.
Thank you so much for having me. And I'm always willing and able to come.
Thank you.
With you.
And thanks for sending those artists down to Radio Regent from Thunderdome
I'll
Studio.
Keep it coming.
Yes, thank you, brother.
This is Eddie Bullen. Koolbreeze brings powerful video documentaries to Radio Regent.